Hey guys, it's Sinem and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing this full coverage foundation routine for you guys. This is what I use when I want to do something really full coverage, and this is my go-to routine of the products that I use in this video. So I do tend to use most of these products for when I'm doing something really full coverage. And also this is a full coverage routine if you are going to like an occasion for photography, if you just really want full coverage that day. So it is super full coverage but without looking cakey. And also I do have dry skin for those of you who are new to my channel, so that is just a little reference as well on how these products work for me. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it, and I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. And without further ado, let's just jump straight into it. So what I normally like to do for primer is kind of just use anything when I'm doing any foundation. I don't normally have a primer that's a go-to, so I just kind of use anything. So today I'm going to be using the Fenty Beauty primer. This is the Pro Filt'r Soft Matte Primer, not the hydrating one. So I'm going to be using the soft matte one today, and I'm just going to put that kind of all over and then pop on my foundation afterwards. So I'm just going to take a small pump of this and just dot it all over. And I usually use my fingers just to work in my primer. I know some people use a brush, but I like using my fingers, so just gonna work that in. And also I do have dry skin, so if you are new to my channel, I do have quite dry skin, mostly right here, especially around the nose and sometimes on the chin, but the rest of my cheeks are fine. So now that we have that all blended in, and it gives me a little bit of a sheen, we're going to go into our full coverage foundation. So for my full coverage foundation that I usually use, it is the Hourglass Vanish Seamless Stick Foundation. I know this is pricey, but it gives you the most full coverage look without looking really cakey and heavy. It also has a soft matte finish. It's more of a satin finish as well, which is great for all skin types and all skin tones, just because it's not going to look too matte and drying, but it's not also going to look too hydrating and dewy, especially if you have oily skin. So something like this, a satin finish, is always going to go and work with a lot of skin types. So another reason why I like this is because of course it is full coverage, but at the same time it's really creamy and blendable. So it's not one of those foundations that dry down really quick and it's hard to work with and blend. This is what I typically use for when I'm doing a full coverage look. I don't wear full coverage foundation every day. I don't even wear makeup every day, but when I do wear something full coverage, either for occasions, for photos, anything like that, then I do tend to typically go for something like this. So I'm just going to put a tiny amount because it's super full coverage. And I like to typically start off with a first layer, and if I need more then I'll go back in with more. For brushes, I like to use the MAC 170. I like to use anything that's really dense and synthetic just because it's going to blend creams really nicely. This also works with liquids, but I find brushes like these that are super dense work with creams the best. So I'm just going to blend this into my skin and use tapping motions as I'm blending. You can see it's like full coverage already. Crazy, crazy, crazy foundation. I absolutely love this stuff. I remember it was really, really raved a few years back on YouTube, and still to this day, one of the best foundations. So at the moment this is one layer, and I'm just going to put the tiniest amount just in certain areas where I feel like it needs more. So for example right here there's just a tiny bit more redness, and a little bit on the nose. I think that's it. So just need a tiny amount just to do a second layer. So I wouldn't recommend putting it all over again, just in areas where you need to touch up. And what I'm going to do now is just go into my concealer. So for concealer, I like to use the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. This is my go-to for... got caught into my hair. My go-to full coverage concealer. Is so full coverage, probably the most full coverage concealer I own, and absolutely love this stuff. So the shade I have is light neutral, and I'm just going to put actually quite a bit I'm not even gonna lie, when I do full coverage, I like to go really full with my concealer. This shade is a little darker, but I am gonna brighten it later. Now going into my beauty blender, I'm just going to blend this all out. Just gonna blend that downwards, and you can see because this is a tiny bit darker than the foundation, it works out. Because if I used a really light concealer and then a light foundation, I'll just look so ghostly. So this is the wrong shade concealer though. I do need to get a lighter Tarte Shape Tape concealer, but because we don't have Tarte in the UK, I'm waiting till I go to the US in November and I'll stock up there. That is my first concealer on, which was the Tarte Shape Tape, and now I'm going to go into a second concealer just because I love using two concealers, sometimes even three. I know I like to kind of cake it on underneath the eyes when I'm going really full coverage. So I'm using the LA Girl Pro Concealer in Porcelain, and I need to get another one in a lighter shade. I really love this stuff as well just because it's so affordable. I think it's £5 in the UK and it's like $2 or $3 in the US. So honestly, the best concealer ever. Put some on the chin, Cupid's bow. And I always like to do my forehead as well, so I just go up and then I go on the side and then the other side. And again, same thing, just blending out with my beauty blender and working that in. And again, this is slightly brighter, so it balances everything out. And not that I need any more full coverage under my eyes, but you can see this is giving me super full coverage and a really nice finish. So that is my second concealer on, and as you can see, it's definitely brightened under my eyes and it's given me a really nice finish. So I'm liking how everything is looking, and again, this is super full coverage without looking super heavy or caked. Now it's time for Mercier translucent powder, and you guys know I was going to whip this out. My holy grail powder. So I'm taking a little amount in the cap, again same sponge, and just going in. I like loading up a lot of powder. I typically don't like to bake, but for the purpose of this video, because it is a full coverage routine, I am going to bake today. So whilst that is baking, I'm going to go into my powder, my setting powder. And for my setting powder, this is a powder foundation, so it's going to be even more full coverage again. But I absolutely love this stuff. You can wear this on its own as an actual foundation, or you can wear it on top of foundation. So this is the MAC Studio Fix powder, and this one is in NC20. And you can see I've pretty much hit pan on it, so I do have a backup, but I'm just going to use this one for today. I'm using my Morphe G7 brush. I love this for powder, and I like to just swirl it in and set the rest of my face. And because again this is a powder foundation, it's going to give you more of a full coverage look, but at the same time set that foundation. And a brush like this is necessary to use, because if you use a really small brush, something like that, I know this is a blush brush, but if you use a small brush for powder, then you're going to end up concentrating too much powder, and then it can look too heavy and too caked. Whereas if you use a brush like this, it disperses the product quite evenly, so when you do put it on the rest of your face, the product is distributed evenly on your skin and doesn't leave it looking so heavy when you use a smaller brush. So it's always better to use a bigger brush when you're doing powder. Going into my bronzer, I'm using the Mercier Candleglow Sheer Perfecting Powder in number 5. And I'm just going to be using this for my bronzer. And then I'll come back to sweep up the under eyes afterwards. But I'm going to go in with this first. Because this has a sheen, it's going to bring back a little bit of a glow to the face rather than everything looking so matte. So I do typically like to use bronzers that have a sheen because, like I said, it gives you some life back into the face. And look what this has done already. Look, crazy. I like to blend it back into the hairline. Sometimes it can get quite dark, so what I like to do is just go back in with the big brush and blend everything out. Just so it's nice and seamless, there aren't any harsh lines, everything looks like it's blended into the skin. So I'm going to sweep away my powder. I'm just going to use the same brush. Just sweep it away and tap. Next step is blusher, and for my blusher I do like to go with something quite pinky. So the type of blusher that I normally like to wear is something like this, where as you can see it is pinky but it's a little bit more plummy at the same time. This one is Breath of Plum. This is like my holy grail blusher. I've been using this for years. So I like to just put a tiny amount because it's really pigmented. Did I say it was MAC? It's MAC, by the way. So now I'm going to be using my favourite highlighter. It's actually broken and I really do need to get another one. So you guys can see it there. This is the Laura Geller Baked Gelato Swirl Illuminator in Gilded Honey. So this one is Gilded Honey and it's my favourite highlighter in the world. I saved it, it's fine. So this is my favourite highlighter and I'm just going to put that on my face. And oh my god. The reason I like this highlighter is because it really melts into the skin, and because it's baked it doesn't leave a powdery finish. So I really like to just put this on the cheeks and work my way back. To do my nose, so I take a tiny amount just right there and down the bridge as well. So I like to put this above the brow like that, so when you turn your head it has a bit of a sheen on the forehead like that. Oh, so pretty. And a tiny amount on the chin. For my nose contour I always use the same product, which is the Hoola bronzer, and this one is in light, Hoola Light. And the reason I like this is because I am fair, so this will look nice, especially as a nose contour as well, because it's not going to make your nose look really harsh and look like you've contoured it. So something like this is a really perfect shade for me to contour with. Now finishing off the look with some lip products, I'm going into these two. And the lip product I'm going to be using today is the Maybelline Vivid Hot Lacquer. And this one is in the shade Too Cute, number 66. And I'm going to go in with this first. This is a little too pink, so I am going to tone it down afterwards. Then to tone it down, I'm going to be going into the Gerard Cosmetics Supreme Lip Cream in Angel Cake, which is a really nice pale baby pink. And I like to mix the two together. So this is what the lip will look like, something really nice and pinky and nude. And I really like how it looks, not too glossy either. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also give this video a thumbs up and comment down below what you want to see next from me. And apart from that, as always, I will see you guys all in my next video.